Imagine you are leafing through an ancient, leather-bound Bible, expecting to find stories of peaceful shepherds and golden-winged angels, but instead you stumble across a description of a multi-headed sea serpent so massive it makes a blue whale look like a goldfish. Or perhaps you read about a beast with iron teeth that tramples the entire world, or a celestial being covered in hundreds of unblinking eyes that hums with a sound like 1,000 rushing waterfalls. Most people think they know the Bible, but buried within its pages is a menagerie of creatures so terrifying, so strange, and so powerful that they seem more like something out of a high-budget monster movie than a Sunday school lesson. These are the banned creatures, the ones that often get left out of the modern retellings because they challenge our simple ideas of nature and divinity. We are talking about primordial monsters of the deep, hybrid warriors from a forgotten age, and cosmic entities that exist outside the boundaries of human logic. Today, we are going to peel back the layers of history and translation to explain every major supernatural beast mentioned in the scriptures. We will look at why these creatures were created, what they represent in the grand tapestry of spiritual warfare, and why some of them were considered so dangerous that they had to be spiritually sequestered from the world of men. If you thought the biblical world was just about sandals and stone altars, prepare to have your reality shifted by the shadows of the ancient world's greatest mysteries. Let's start with the absolute heavyweight of the biblical ocean, Leviathan. Mentioned in the book of Job and the Psalms, Leviathan is not just a big fish or a misunderstood crocodile. The Bible describes it as a twisting, fire-breathing sea serpent, with scales so tight that no air can pass between them and no sword can pierce them. In Job chapter 41, God challenges Job, asking him if he can pull in Leviathan with a fishhook. The description is staggering. Its sneezes flash out light, and out of its mouth go burning torches. This is a creature of pure, untamable chaos. In ancient Near Eastern culture, the sea represented everything unpredictable and dangerous about the world, and Leviathan was the crown prince of that darkness. Interestingly, some ancient Jewish traditions suggest that there were originally two Leviathans, a male and a female, but the female was removed from the world because if they had reproduced, the entire earth would have been overwhelmed by their offspring. This makes Leviathan a creature that is literally too big for our reality. It serves as a reminder that there are forces in creation that only the Creator can control, a massive symbol of the primordial chaos that existed before the world was ordered. But if Leviathan ruled the waves, Behemoth was the undisputed master of the land. Described in the same passage of Job, Behemoth is a creature of immense muscle and bone. While many modern commentators try to say Behemoth was just a hippopotamus or an elephant, the text says its tail sways like a cedar tree. Have you ever looked at a hippo's tail? It's not exactly a towering cedar. The description suggests something much more prehistoric and formidable. Behemoth drinks up a river without flinching and is described as the first of God's works. Together with Leviathan, Behemoth represents the untamed power of the natural world. These creatures are banned in the sense that they exist in a realm where humans cannot survive. They are the guardians of the wilderness, living evidence that the world was not made for humans alone, but for the glory of a God who delights in things that are wild, powerful, and utterly indifferent to human civilization. Now let's move into the realm of the truly controversial, the Nephilim. Found in Genesis chapter 6, these are the famous giants of old. The text says they were the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. For centuries, theologians have debated who these sons of God were. The most ancient interpretation, found in the Book of Enoch and supported by many early church fathers, is that they were fallen angels who descended to earth and mingled with humanity. The resulting hybrid creatures, the Nephilim, were legendary warriors of great stature and, according to tradition, great wickedness. They represent a corruption of the natural order, a forbidden blending of the celestial and the terrestrial. This is perhaps the most famous banned creature, because their very existence supposedly led to the Great Flood. The world had to be cleansed because the genetic and spiritual purity of humanity was being replaced by a race of supernatural titans. When you read about the giants in the land of Canaan later in the Bible, like Goliath or the sons of Anak, you are seeing the lingering shadows of this ancient, forbidden bloodline. Transitioning from giants to the sky, we encounter the seraphim. We often picture angels as glowing humans with wings, but the seraphim are far more alien. Found in the vision of Isaiah, these beings have 6 wings. 2 cover their faces, 2 cover their feet, and with 2 they fly. Their name literally means the burning ones, They stand in the direct presence of the throne of God, shouting, "Holy, holy, holy," with such intensity that the foundations of the temple shake. They aren't creatures in the animal sense, but they are celestial entities that possess a searing purity. They are banned from our normal sight because human eyes cannot withstand the intensity of their glory. To look upon a seraph is to look upon the raw, unshielded fire of the divine. They act as the ultimate border guards between the finite and the infinite, ensuring that nothing impure can approach the source of all existence. Wait, it gets even weirder. Have you heard of the Ophanim? These are the wheels described in the book of Ezekiel. In his vision of the chariot of God, Ezekiel sees wheels within wheels, their rims covered in eyes. These beings move in any direction without turning and are filled with the spirit of the living creatures. This is one of the most difficult descriptions in the entire Bible to visualize. They are mechanical yet biological, stationary yet moving, and their abundance of eyes suggests a level of omniscient awareness that is terrifying to contemplate. These are the high-ranking spirits that carry the very presence of God through the cosmos. They are banned from our everyday understanding because they function in dimensions we cannot perceive. They represent the complexity and the otherness of the spiritual realm, a reminder that the heavens are not just empty air, but a buzzing, living infrastructure of cosmic intelligence. Let's talk about the satyrs and the Lilith, often translated as shaggy goats or night hags. In the book of Isaiah, describing the desolation of Babylon and Edom, the text mentions that wild goats and night creatures will dance there. In the original Hebrew, the word for these goat creatures is Searim, which refers to demon-like spirits that inhabit waste places. These are the original banned residents of the wilderness. When a land is cursed and abandoned by God, these supernatural entities move in. They represent the reversal of creation, where once there was a garden and order, now there are shaggy, dancing spirits of the void. Lilith, often associated with a screech owl or a night monster, is part of this same group. While later folklore turned Lilith into a specific demon, in the biblical context, these are the nameless horrors that lurk just beyond the campfire's light, the spiritual predators that claim the territory where man is no longer welcome. But what about the dragon of Revelation? In the final book of the Bible, we see the great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. This is the ultimate manifestation of the ancient serpent from Eden, now grown into a cosmic powerhouse. This creature is not a biological animal, but a spiritual entity that represents the sum total of all rebellion against the divine. It is banned in the sense that it is cast out of heaven and eventually confined to the abyss. Its multiple heads represent different empires and powers throughout history, showing that this creature works through the structures of human society to create chaos. The dragon is the final boss of biblical zoology, a terrifying synthesis of Leviathan's power and the serpent's cunning, designed to lead the world into a final, futile conflict. Now let's look at the 4 beasts of Daniel. In his vision in Daniel chapter 7, the prophet sees 4 massive creatures rising out of the sea. The first is like a lion with eagle's wings. The second is like a bear with 3 ribs in its mouth. The third is a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads. And the fourth is a nameless, terrifying monster with iron teeth and 10 horns. These are not secret animals living in a hidden jungle. They are prophetic symbols of world empires. However, the imagery used, the hybridization of natural animals into unnatural forms, suggests that these earthly empires are fueled by something monstrous and predatory. These beasts are banned from the kingdom of God, destined to be destroyed to make way for a more human, more divine rule. They represent the beastly nature of human power when it is disconnected from spiritual morality. For those interested in the darker corners of theology, we have to mention the locusts of the abyss from the book of Revelation. When the 5th trumpet sounds, the shaft of the bottomless pit is opened, and smoke rises like a great furnace. Out of the smoke come locusts, but they are like no insects you have ever seen. They have the shapes of horses prepared for battle, faces like humans, hair like women, teeth like lions, and stings in their tails like scorpions. They are led by a king named Abaddon, or Apollyon, which means the destroyer. These are not biological locusts. They are demonic entities that have been banned or locked away in the abyss for ages, released only for a specific time of judgment. They don't eat grass or trees. They attack the spirits of men. They represent the outpouring of ancient, pent-up malice, creatures that have been kept in the shadows of the universe until the very end, transitioning to a slightly more noble but equally strange creature, the cherubim. Most people think of cherubs as chubby babies with harps, four-faced guardians. In Ezekiel, they each have the face of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. They are covered in wings and eyes and carry flaming swords. These are the beings stationed at the east of Eden to prevent humanity from returning to the tree of life. They are the band guardians. Their job is to maintain the separation between the holy and the fallen. They aren't cute. They are the ultimate elite security force of the universe. When you see them on the lid of the Ark of the Covenant, they are a sign that the presence of God is both beautiful and incredibly dangerous if approached incorrectly. Then there is the cockatrice or the basilisk. Mentioned in older translations of Isaiah and Jeremiah, the tsepa is a serpent so venomous that its very breath or glance could be lethal. In biblical metaphor, the cockatrice represents a hidden, escalating danger, the egg that hatches into a viper. While the mythical version of a half-rooster, half-snake is a later invention, the biblical creature is a real, high-threat biological entity that serves as a warning. There are paths you should not walk and nests you should not disturb. It is a banned creature in the sense that it is a no-go zone of nature, a lethal reminder of the thorns and thistles that entered the world after the fall. Let's talk about the unicorn. Yes, the King James Version mentions the unicorn 9 times. Modern translations usually change this to wild ox or rhinoceros. The Hebrew word is re'em. Whether it was a literal one-horned animal or a now extinct type of massive wild cattle like the aurochs, the biblical description emphasizes its uncontrollable strength. God asks Job if the unicorn will be willing to serve him or stay at his crib. The point is that this is a creature that refuses to be tamed by man. It is a banned animal from the farm or the city. It represents a level of raw, independent power that mocks human attempts at mastery. Like Behemoth, the Re'em is a testament to the otherness of creation, a world that exists on its own terms, under its own laws, far beyond our fences and borders. We also have the flying fiery serpents mentioned in the book of Numbers and Isaiah. When the Israelites complained in the wilderness, these creatures were sent among them. The term seraph is actually the same word used for the highest order of angels, suggesting these serpents were burning or glistening in their appearance, and their venom caused a burning fever. These were creatures of judgment, a physical manifestation of a spiritual crisis. Later, Isaiah speaks of a fiery flying serpent that comes from the land of trouble and anguish. These are banned creatures in the sense that they are the inhabitants of the spiritual death zones, places where life is sustained only by the direct intervention of God, and where, without that protection, the predatory forces of the desert take over. Similar to the dragon, but it is full of names of blasphemy. This beast carries the woman who represents the corrupt systems of the world, a system that tries to replace the worship of the Creator with the worship of the creature. Its strange appearance is a visual warning that the things that look powerful and impressive in this world are often grotesque and hybridized in the spiritual realm. In the book of Zechariah, there is a vision of 2 women with wings like the wings of a stork. They lift up a basket containing wickedness and carry it away to the land of Shinar. These winged beings are often overlooked, but they represent a type of spiritual transport. Storks were considered unclean animals under the Mosaic Law, so these winged women are not traditional angels. They are banned or unclean spirits that are nonetheless used by God to remove evil from one place and confine it to another. This shows us that the spiritual world has its own logistics and sanitation crews, creatures that perform necessary but dark tasks to keep the spiritual ecosystem in balance. Why does the Bible contain these terrifying scenarios and entities? For the believer, these creatures serve a vital purpose. They expand our view of God. If the Creator can design a Leviathan or an Ophan, then the Creator is infinitely more complex and powerful than our small, cozy ideas of Him. These creatures are the fences of the universe. They mark the boundaries between what we understand and what we don't. They remind us that we are part of a cosmic drama that involves more than just our human struggles. There is a wildness to the biblical world that is often lost in modern church buildings. The scriptures describe a world that is vibrating with supernatural life, some of it beautiful, some of it predatory, and all of it fascinating. For the finance-minded or those interested in the economy of the spirit, these creatures represent the assets and liabilities of the spiritual realm. The giants and the beasts of Daniel are libilities, powers that seek to drain and destroy human potential. The seraphim and cherubim are the assets of the divine kingdom, the guardians of the ultimate capital, which is the presence of God. Understanding these creatures helps us map the spiritual landscape. It tells us where the risks are and where the true protection lies. In a world that is increasingly obsessed with the material, the study of these banned creatures is a return to a more profound, ancient form of intelligence. We also have to consider the Zepim and the Ayim, often translated as wild beasts of the desert and jackals. In the poetic warnings of the prophets, these creatures are said to howl in the palaces of the wicked. They are the heralds of ruin. In biblical thought, a house or a city is only human as long as it is filled with the spirit of life. When that spirit leaves, the banned creatures of the wilderness return to claim their own. These creatures are the default state of the world, the wild, untamed reality that waits patiently at the edges of our civilizations for us to slip up. Then there are the living creatures around the throne in Revelation chapter 4. These are often equated with the cherubim or seraphim, but are distinct in their own way. They are full of eyes, before and behind. They represent the fullness of creation, the strength of the lion, the service of the ox, the intelligence of the man, and the vision of the eagle. They are the representatives of all life in the presence of the source of life. They are banned from our normal existence because they exist in a state of perpetual, unceasing worship. They are the benchmark of what all creatures were meant to be, beings that use their unique powers to reflect the glory of the one who made them. The Bible also mentions the Rahab, not the woman from Jericho, but an ancient sea monster or dragon mentioned in Job, Psalms, and Isaiah. Rahab is often used as a synonym for Egypt, but in a spiritual sense. It is the proud one that the arm of the Lord cut to pieces in ancient times. Rahab represents the spirit of pride and structural rebellion. It is a banned creature because it is the embodiment of the ego that thinks it can stand against the Almighty. Its destruction is a recurring theme, a promise that no matter how monster-like and intimidating a system or a spirit might seem, it has a shelf life. It is destined to be a footnote in the history of the King of Kings. In the New Testament, we see Jesus encountering Legion, a group of demons that had taken possession of a man. When they were cast out, they asked to be sent into a herd of pigs. This shows us that even banned spirits have a desire for a physical house. They are parasites of the spiritual world. They represent the fragmentation of a human being. Where there should be one person, there are thousands of competing destructive voices. This is perhaps the most terrifying banned creature, the collective of spirits that destroys the human identity from the inside out. The victory of Christ over Legion is the ultimate reassurance that the human spirit, through divine help, can be restored from even the most monstrous spiritual occupation. As we look toward the future, many people wonder if these creatures will reappear. The book of Revelation suggests that in the final days, the masks will come off. The banned things will be seen for what they are. Whether these descriptions are literal, symbolic, or something in between, they convey a truth that is undeniable. The world is far more mysterious and dangerous than we like to admit. But for the Christian, there is no fear. The same book that describes the dragon and the locusts also describes the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the Lamb who was slain. The ultimate creature, the God-man Jesus Christ, has authority over every name mentioned on this list. The study of these beings isn't about being obsessed with monsters. It's about being aware of the scale of the world we live in. We are not just fighting flesh and blood, as St. Paul said, but principalities and powers. These creatures are the faces of those powers. They are the visual language of the spiritual war. By understanding them, we lose our naive view of the world and gain a deeper, more robust faith. We realize that we need the shield of faith because there are fiery darts being thrown by things that can breathe fire. We realize we need the sword of the Spirit because there are leviathans in the deep. The banned creatures of the Bible are a call to adventure. They invite us to leave the safe but shallow version of spirituality and enter the deep, wild, and incredibly exciting world of the Scriptures. They remind us that the God of the Bible is not a tame God, as C.S. Lewis famously said, but he is good. He is a God who can handle the Ophanim and the Nephilim with a word. He is a God who created the stars and the behemoth. When you realize the size of the monsters, you realize the size of the hero who defeats them. Keep your eyes on the Word. Don't be afraid to look into the dark passages, for even there, the light of truth reveals something magnificent. Whether it's the scales of Leviathan or the eyes of the Ophanim, every detail is a piece of a puzzle that points back to the majesty of the Creator. The shadows are long, and the creatures are strange, but the story ends with the victory of the light. The world of the Bible is a world of wonders, and these creatures are just the beginning of what there is to discover. Stay curious, stay faithful, And remember that when you walk with the King of Kings, even the most terrifying creature in the universe is just another part of his footstool. So, the next time you hear a strange sound in the night or feel the world is becoming a bit too beastly, remember the visions of Daniel and John. Remember that the monsters have already been judged, their time is short, and their boundaries are fixed. We live in a world of giants and dragons, but we also live in a world where the creator of those very things called you by name. The mystery of the banned creatures is a mystery of power, but the mystery of the gospel is a mystery of love. And in the end, love is the greatest power of all, the only thing that can look a seraph in the face and not be consumed. Keep exploring, keep praying, and never lose your wonder at the magnificent, monstrous, and beautiful world of the Bible.